Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to go up towards Stockholm for this one and revisit one of the best known Swedish craft breweries, and this is a beer that I'm very curious about. So for this one then we are going to have a look at another beer from Omnipollo, and this one is the Flashback, which comes in at 9% ABV, and they're describing this one as a blueberry maple pancake imperial porter. So yeah, this one I think will be very interesting. Most of the kind of sweet beers that I've had from Omnipollo in the past have been imperial stouts, but of course there is the Lorelei, which is a really very nice, is that toasted maple pecan or something? I can't quite remember. There's so many random flavours in these Omnipollo beers, it's a little bit difficult to keep track, but apparently the flavour profile in this beer is derived from the Bianca blueberry maple pancake Lassie Goza that they did actually. I need to try some of those big Goza beers because I think they've got 3 or 4 of them actually, but I've never come across them to review them for you. So that's something that I definitely need to look at some point in the future. But as I say, I just haven't seen these big ones. But it's been a wee while since I've had one of the kind of sweet dark beers from Omnipollo, so really looking forward to trying this one. And as always, I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. This is one that arrived in Sweden on the 26th of May 2020 through the Tillfälligt assortment, and it wasn't too bad in terms of price. I think this one cost me about 40 crowns for the little can here, so when you consider that it's a 9% Imperial Porter, I think that was pretty damn good, I have to say. So yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out, and as always I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one. Let's see how we get on. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Omnipollo before. This must be review number 20 at least that I've done from this brewery, and no doubt there will be more in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Omnipollo then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've told you before, Omnipollo was founded back in 2011 by Henok Fenty, who's a long-time homebrewer, and Carl Grandin, who was a clothing designer. So the two met one day and they just got talking, and they decided to start a brewery together after they talked about how insular the craft beer scene was both in Sweden and further abroad. And they say that they want to kind of reinvigorate the craft beer scene both from a stylistic sense and then from a gastronomic sense as well. And that kind of makes sense because the Omnipollo artwork is very distinctive, Carl's design of course, and then from the gastronomic sense they do a lot of things with flavour essence and stuff like that, and you know, putting that in on top of a base beer. So they felt that this partnership between Henok, a homebrewer, and Carl, a clothing designer, was very logical. So the name of the brewery, Omnipollo, is derived from omnipotent chicken, so Omnipollo, pollo Spanish for chicken, and these guys were gypsy brewers until 2020. So they opened up the Omnipollo's Hat in Stockholm as a collaboration with Pizza Hut, and this became really popular. There's some really good pizza there. I need to go and film a little out and about video up there. But yeah, you can you know, the Omnipollo's place up there is very nice. They've now got another bar in Hamburg, which I believe opened in early 2019, if I'm remembering correctly. They've opened up a bar in Gothenburg as well these days, which I didn't know. It's actually very close to the bar Kino Hagabjörn's Cafe, where you'll get all the OO and Omnipollo, all the OO and Stigbergets beers, sorry. And they also have recently just opened up the bar in Tokyo, Japan as well. But the biggest announcement from them recently came in March of 2020, when they announced that they would open up their own brewery in Sundbyberg in a former church, and this had previously belonged to Sundbyberg's Sjuksbryggeri, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But apparently the current brewing capacity there is around 100,000 litres of beer per year, and this is going to be scaled up to around 600,000 litres of beer per year. pretty soon actually, so you might see a big rise in input in Omnipollo's, or output, sorry, a big rise in output from Omnipollo quite soon. But these beers are available all across the world. I know that they do go to Japan sometimes. I know that Koji in Liquor Shop Asahiya in Osaka, I know that he gets some of the Omnipollo beers. I know that they're available down in Australia and New Zealand, and I know some of the guys over in America are getting them. I'm guessing that you can get them in South America as well. So yeah, this is definitely a brewery that you want to check out if you get the chance. They've got some very, very interesting beers, like I said. But as of May 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced around 310 different beers, which is pretty impressive, I have to say. And that number is, of course, going to continue to increase. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Omnipollo for the moment. That's all you really need to know, to be honest. But as I say, if you're interested in lovely big kind of sweet pastry stouts, these guys were one of the breweries that really kind of kicked that whole sort of style of beer off, if you like. You know, you've got the likes of Amundsen now who are doing these kind of things. Dugas Brewery do a few big sweet stouts as well. You know, Omnipollo were one of the kind of first breweries to do that. As far as I know, they were also the first brewery to brew with flavour essence and things like that as well. So yeah, a really interesting brewery, this one. So yeah, definitely worth checking out if you get the chance. But that said, their straight up beers tend to be very nice as well. The Phantasma, or was it Phantasma? Fantastico, I forget, but yeah, the Phantasma or Fantastico, when it comes to their straight up beers, these tend to be very nice as well. You've got the Nebuchadnezzar, which is a beautiful West Coast IPA. You've also got the Fata Morgana, which is, you know, a very classic New England style IPA as well, and those are two beers that I really would recommend that you check out. I always remember a beer called Outside the Lines as well, which they did with Trillium, and that was a beautiful kind of straight up Imperial stout without any of the flavour essences. So these guys are very, very capable actually. And Henok, who is one of the brewers, I think he is Ethiopian by origin. I'm not sure if he was born in Sweden, but his family at least are Ethiopian. So I think this is, you know, I think this is where he gets a lot of his kind of inspiration from, with the different foods and things like that. So yeah, I'm sure he was down in Ethiopia doing some brewing at some point fairly recently. So yeah, really interesting company, this one. So definitely check them out if you get the chance. But yeah, if you want to learn more, check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And of course, you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. But in fairness, you get the, how do you say, you've got a good list of all the beers on the website there that you can check out. But yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this one then. So as I said to you, this one is a 9% Imperial Porter. This one is, they're describing this, as I said earlier, as a blueberry maple pancake Imperial Porter. It's based, the flavour profile that's in this one apparently is based on the Bianca blueberry maple Imperial Lassie Goza, actually. So yeah, that's a beer. I really need to get a hold of those big Goza ones from Omnipollo. I've not seen them, so I don't know where you can actually get them. And they were quite expensive. I think I saw one before, and I think it was like 130 crowns or something, so it was pretty pricey. But yeah, 9% ABV this one. Without further ado, let's get it out and we will get on with the tasting then. It's been, as I say, it's been a good while since I've had one of these big kind of sweet dark beers from Omnipollo, so this one will be a little bit of a treat. I have to say the colour of this one is quite impressive as well. Look at that. That's mental. I don't think I've ever come across a beer. When I was pouring this, I was thinking it looks a little bit, you know, if it's got the kind of blueberry colours in it, right enough. And it says that this one is brewed, by the way, at the Proefbrouwerij in Locriste Heefde, which is just to the east of Ghent in Belgium, if I remember correctly. So yeah, this one, it is pretty damn impressive, I say that. I mean, if I look at this, it does almost have just a little, if you look at the colour of this beer, it almost just looks as if it's got a bit of a kind of fruity tint to it. You know, when you think about the way that berries dye Berliner Weisses, you know, how they dye them these different colours and things like that. So maybe there is a mixture of blueberry flavour essence in this one and actual blueberries, who knows. But yeah, the colour of that beer is crazy. The head on this one, it's almost like a kind of, what does that smell of? We'll talk about the aroma in a minute, but it almost smells a bit like maybe Ferrero Rocher or like Christmas pudding or something. That's really interesting. But yeah, look at the head on this one then. I'd say it's about a 2/3 head, and it's very dark and very, you know, it's almost like hot chocolate but with a bit of a kind of red berryish dye colour to it. If I shine the light through this beer, it is pretty much black as night. It's the head that's showing you the colour. When you pour this, of course, you can see that the beer just has a little bit of a tint to it. Of course, the porters normally are kind of a very dark sort of ebony, chestnutty type colour, but you can see with this one, it just has this tint when you pour it. When the light comes through it, you see it's just got a little bit of that berryish kind of maroony red kind of colour to it, you know, not too dissimilar from this guy that I'm wearing. But yeah, the appearance of this beer is quite interesting. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, there's a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there, but overall it looks pretty interesting, this one. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this beer. That smells very nice. Yeah, I like how this one goes together actually. I mean, it's typical Omnipollo. I mean, if you know this brewery, it's got that typically just kind of sweet flavour essency base to it, and it's really nice. The aromas you get out of these beers are great. And of course you do get some people who are like, oh, you know, Omnipollo don't brew the pure beers and stuff like this, blah blah blah. But you know, the point is, there is a bit of an art in that itself, you know, figuring out how to brew with the flavour essences and stuff like that, and finding a good base beer that matches it. I mean, I don't remember ever being disappointed with an Omnipollo beer, to be honest with you. They always turn out really nicely. So with this beer then, you definitely smell the base of it. It smells a little bit like a kind of dusty chocolate. You know, if you smell the inside of like a can of the Nesquik powder, it smells like that, only instead of being more milky chocolate, it comes across as more darker and, you know, higher cocoa, that slightly more bitter chocolate actually. So you do get a bit of that in the base of this one. There's definitely some hints of more milky chocolate in there as well, so you've got a balance between a darker chocolate and a more milky chocolate, which I think is very, very nice. And you also have a little bit of, you've also got a bit of kind of vanilla coming out of this one, in my opinion. I think there is a wee bit of vanilla in here, which is good. I really like that about this beer actually. The aroma of this one, I have to say, is really very, very nice. You do get a little bit of this kind of breadiness thing, which I guess could be pancakes. I think in fairness, yeah, it could be a bit of pancake. So I do like that. I do like that about the aroma here. The aroma is pretty damn nice, I have to say. Yeah, I like that. I really like the dark kind of bitter chocolate that this one has. I think that's really quite nice. I wonder if this is going to be, they say it's an Imperial porter, I wonder if it's meant to be like a robust porter, because it does have a little bit of that roasty bitterness from the chocolate. It's very, very nice there. You can pick up a little bit of brown sugar in this one. At the front of the nose you will pick up a little bit of a kind of sweet caramelly brown sugary sort of thing, which when it's maple, I'm guessing that it's maple syrup. So you do get a little bit of that kind of caramelly wafery brown sugary sort of thing out of the beer as well. There's a few kind of woody undertones to it, and maybe just a little bit of nuttiness as well, which you would expect from an Imperial porter like this. You know, I'm kind of picking up on just everything that it actually mentions on the label. This one, the aroma, isn't particularly surprising when you know what this beer actually is. But I would say it's well balanced between the kind of smooth, almost creamy end of the spectrum, but it's also got some nice kind of roasty, bitter chocolatey notes underneath. So I do like that about this beer, I have to say. So yeah, the malty side of this one I think is very, very interesting. So yeah, on the hoppy side of things, you've definitely got, there is a wee bit of earthiness coming out of this one. There's a wee bit of a herbal character as well. Not really so much in the way of floral notes. There's a wee tiny hint of that, and you've also got a bit of grassiness and fairness too. But you've got some nice juicy fruity qualities to this one. Of course, I actually, if I was smelling this blind, I probably wouldn't guess it was blueberry. I would probably think it was like a dark kind of a dark cherry or a sort of raisiny plum or something like that. I don't know if I would specifically pick out blueberry if I didn't know that it was either that berry or that essence that's in the beer. But yeah, I find this one really interesting. Like at the front of the nose, the aroma's a bit sharp. When you go further back, it gets a little bit more almost creamy and vanilla-like, and then you've got some. Then you've got a really nice kind of dark, bittery, kind of chocolatey quality to this one. So I really like how the aroma of this goes together. So thumbs up to Omnipollo for the aroma. This does make me very curious to try some of those big Gose beers actually, so I'll need to keep an eye out for those. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Flashback, a 9% blueberry maple Pancake Imperial Porter from Omnipollo, now based in Sundbyberg in Stockholm here in Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange skål. Ooh, that is nice. First thing you're going to notice about this, when you take it in, it does actually have a lovely little bit of tartness to it, and the tartness just becomes really juicy. So this is one of the more tart Imperial Porters that I had. I thought this was going to be a big sweet kind of cakey thing, but it's actually not. And I can see, to be honest with you, I can see why they did this as a porter rather than as a stout, because I think if you had the thickness and all those cakey flavours there, it would take away, it would sort of diminish the other flavours that are in this one. So I really like how that goes together. This beer gets a big thumbs up from me. This is quite different actually to the other Omnipollo ones that I've had. I do need to try a few more of their sour beers and their goses and things like that, because that's something I haven't really touched on, to be honest with you. I need to review some more of these kind of random goses and you know, Berliner Weisses and things like that. I need to get a few more kind of sour beers for you on the channel, to be honest, because I have been focusing more on the lambics when it comes to the sours recently. But I like this. This, as I say, this gets a big thumbs up from me. The thing I'm noticing as well with this is it gets really dry in the aftertaste. So that's a very interesting point about this one as well. I have to say, the impact that this beer has when you take it in is really lovely. It's got a lovely bit of tartness to it. It's not quite, I don't know if I'd describe it quite as sour, but the way that you've got that little tart impact and then it just juices up and the whole middle of your palate gets very, very wet. I really like how that goes together. Yeah, this one, I think the way that goes together is very, very nice. Try this beer for yourself and see how you get on. I'm glad that I picked this one up because I was in two minds about it, and then I was just kind of like, you know, bugger it, I'll just get one. And I'm really glad that I did, I have to say. So yeah, lovely stuff. So it's interesting, this one. Like I say, when you take this beer in, it's very wet and very juicy and fruity, and you've got a little bit of tartness there at the start of the tongue. You know, it is straight up blueberries, but the blueberries are very juicy. I think it's a combination of real blueberries and a little bit of you know, I think it's a little bit of flavour essence as well, because the further you go into the taste of this one, it does come across as a bit candied. So I think there's probably a combination of real blueberries and a bit of the flavour essence in here. Because you don't really get that kind of almost brambly, kind of dusty, fluffy type thing that you get when you actually add these things fully into the beer. So I do think there's a combination of berry and flavour essence in this one, I would say that. But yeah, the way that this juices up is really nice. The malt base I actually find to be really quite straight up. I mean, the backbone of the malt base in this beer is a roasty, toasty black malt, and you can feel this beer getting drier and drier the further you go into the aftertaste. In the middle third of your tongue, that's where you get the kind of peak of the dryness, if you like. At the very back of the palate, it's actually quite smooth and almost slightly lactosey. Yeah, there is a sort of vanilla-y, lactosey type quality to this one, which kind of makes sense when you consider what beer this one's derived from. So if you go to that middle third of your palate, like I was saying, if you move towards the kind of front of that, that's when you get the kind of lactosey, vanilla-y type flavours out of the beer. And you can just feel the sort of fruitiness, the berry notes just kind of sort of mixing in with that. So I really like that about this beer. The further back you go, the gradually more kind of dry and bitter it starts to get. There is a wee bit of brown sugar in the middle of the palate. You can detect the kind of maple syrupy type flavours out of this, and it's almost like in the very centre of your palate you have got a wee bit of that maple syrupy type sweetness out of this one. So yeah, definitely there is a wee bit of that. You'll notice that when the beer kind of juices up after you take it in, the maple syrupy type flavours sit almost dead centre in the palate actually, so I really like that about it. The vanilla, as I say, There's a wee bit of that vanilla lactose flavour in front of it, but then you've got the kind of nice dry bitterness that gradually pushes its way out a little bit later on as well. The pancakey notes, I think the kind of pancakey notes, if you move towards the back corners of your tongue and then just in a little bit, it's almost like you've got a little line of pancakey flavour as you go further forward. So yeah, there's not too much in the way of a kind of chocolate chippy flavour from this one. I would say it is more straight up blueberries, roasty black malt, and you know, the kind of sweet, the very sweet blueberries and a bit of the brown sugar and things like that. I do find there is a wee vanilla element to this one. But yeah, the mouthfeel of this beer really is quite different compared to other ones that I've come across. You've probably noticed that I haven't been able to do this tasting in the normal sort of logical breakdown way that I would, because this beer is just very kind of quirky, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think, as I say, the pancakey flavours, if you go along the back sides of your palate and then just move in, that's where you get the pancakey notes. Roasty black malt backbone, which gets stronger and stronger the further you go into the flavour. Bit of maple syrupy brown sugar in the very centre of your palate, and you've also got a wee bit of that kind of lactosey vanilla kind of thing coming out of it as well. So yeah, I do like how this goes together, and the juiciness of the fruit, the blueberries in this is very, very nice. I don't know if I would specifically pick up that it's blueberry. I would probably think that there's a wee bit of like blackberry or something mixed in with that as well, because the blueberries, as I say, there's a little bit of the tartness that you expect from them, but they really juice out very, very nicely. I think there's a combination of flavour essence and regular berry, as I said earlier. On the hoppy side of things though, back corners of the palate, there is a good little bit of earthiness there. Wonder if that could be summit, actually, come to think of it. But as you come further forward along the side of the palate, you can feel the earthiness just kind of dries up a little bit. As you reach the front corners of the palate, it's a little touch floral. Then round the very front curve of the palate, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy, but this beer really does get quite dry. And then behind the front curve of the palate, of course, that's where you get the oily bubble where the fruity esters come out, and I think it's just a little bit of a kind of candied strawberry sort of figgy flavour you're getting there. Most of the fruity character in this one comes on the impact with the blueberry side of the beer. So yeah, I think we've covered the flavour profile of this one quite nicely. And as I say, the thing that really strikes me with this is how it gets drier and drier the further you go into the flavour. I think this one you probably could describe as a robust porter rather than anything else. So yeah, bear that in mind when you try this one. I think this is really nicely done, and I have seen other ones that are kind of similar. I think it's based on some of the other big Goza beers that they've done, so I need to see if I can get a hold of the other ones at some point. Don't know if Glassbank or whoever would have them, but yeah, I need to see what else I can get from Omnipollo, actually, because these beers I think are very, very nice. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I think this is a fairly kind of mid-bodied beer. Carbonation is very smooth. As I say, this beer feels very, very wet because of the fruitiness and the kind of tartness that the beer has. There's a good bit of bitterness to this one. I would think this one maybe has around 60-ish IBUs, and that's from the earthy hops and a bit of the roasty malty quality that builds up in this one, so I really like that about this beer. There is a degree of sweetness to it. Like I say, you've got that kind of creamy lactosey thing that gives it some sweetness, a bit of the brown sugar as well, and you've got a lot of juicy fruitiness from this beer. It's a little tart in the beginning, but it really juices out very, very nicely. So this beer starts off juicy and sweet, then it really starts to dry out a bit more the further you go into the aftertaste with it. So yeah, this beer gets a big thumbs up from me. I really, really like this one, and I need to try some of these big Goza beers from Omnipollo. I need to see about getting the other ones that are in this kind of porter series as well. But this is the one that was released through Sustainable Agate, so hopefully we get another one fairly soon. I'll need to keep an eye out and see what is on the cards actually. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This was a really interesting beer, and I'm glad that I was able to review this one for you here on the channel. I hope that you guys have enjoyed my take on this one. The Flashback, a 9% blueberry maple pancake Imperial Porter from Omnipollo and Sundbyberg in Stockholm up in Sweden. Really, really nice beer this, and I recommend you try this if you get the chance. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Omnipollo, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Flashback from Omnipollo in Stockholm here in Sweden. Slange, skål, make sure you check out this beer. Cheers.